You ever notice how sometimes life drops something right in front of you at the exact second you're desperate for it? Like you've been wandering blindfolded for ages, and then suddenly the blindfold slips and you can finally see what was always there. That isn't luck, that is an accident. That's you being prepared in a way you didn't even realize. And if you're here right now, watching this, listening to these words, it's because you've crossed into a place you didn't know you were capable of reaching. You've crossed from wishing into readiness. And those two may sound similar, but they couldn't be further apart. Wishing keeps people stuck forever. Wishing for a different life, wishing for a deeper connection, wishing for more freedom, more money, more meaning. Wishing to finally understand why they're here and what they're supposed to be building with the time they've been given. But wishing is passive. It feels safe. It lets you fantasize about becoming someone else without actually having to break the patterns that hold you back. Readiness is different. Readiness feels dangerous because it leaves no room for escape routes. It's that point when staying the same actually hurts more than the fear of stepping into the unknown. Readiness doesn't arrive wrapped in excitement. It doesn't come with sirens and applause. It sneaks in quietly, often dressed up as exhaustion. You wake up one day and you're simply tired. Tired of hearing yourself repeat the same excuses, tired of looping through the same self-conversations that go nowhere, tired of watching your own life unfold as if it belongs to someone else. That exhaustion isn't a weakness, it's a breaking point. It's your inner voice refusing to keep playing small. That's when everything begins to tilt, not because life around you suddenly changes, but because you stop pretending the old way was ever enough. You stop making peace with circumstances that have been slowly dimming your light. You stop confusing settling with wisdom. And the truth is, you've been training for this moment longer than you realized, quietly stacking strength in ways you didn't give yourself credit for. Every heartbreak you walked through, every time you got knocked down but stood back up anyway, every moment you said, "one more try," when the logical choice was to quit. All of that was shaping something inside of you. Not surface-level hope, not empty optimism, something stronger. Resilience, the kind that doesn't need anyone to cheer it on, the kind that simply knows, deep in its bones, that it can handle whatever happens next. But here's where most people trip up. They wait to feel ready. They wait for certainty, for confidence, for all the answers to show up before they make a move. But readiness isn't about feelings. It's about recognition. It's that shift when you stop asking, "Am I ready?" and start asking, "What's my next step?" Because people who are truly ready don't sit around waiting for the stars to align. They move with whatever tools they already have. And let me tell you, readiness looks messy. It looks like beginning while you're still uncertain. It looks like acting with half the information because you finally understand that waiting for clarity is just a polished excuse for hiding. It looks like choosing discomfort over decay. It's realizing the life you've been living, familiar, predictable, safe, has actually been suffocating who you're supposed to be. And that version of you, the one you're meant to grow into, has been waiting patiently this whole time. Not criticizing, not rushing, just waiting for the day you finally get too tired of your own excuses to keep ignoring them. You felt that version of yourself before. Those flashes of inspiration where everything made sense. Those quiet nudges you dismissed as impossible. Those moments when you knew you were meant for more. When you're ready, those signals don't disappear, they get louder. Not because they suddenly started shouting, but because you finally stopped drowning them out. You begin to notice things you couldn't see before. Opportunities that always were there suddenly come into focus. Connections that once passed you by now feel magnetic because your energy has shifted, and energy recognizes itself. And here's the test the universe loves to give. When you're ready, it doesn't drop your dream life in your lap. It gives you chances to prove it. Small chances, little decisions that test your commitment. And most people miss them because they're looking for the dramatic sign, the movie moment, the big break. But real readiness gets built in the tiny decisions. The choice to stay disciplined, the refusal to settle, the courage to walk away from what no longer matches who you're becoming. When you're ready, you stop asking for permission. You stop needing everyone to clap for you before you move. You stop defending your choices to people who were never meant to understand them. You realize that most of the barriers you kept blaming were just camouflaged excuses. The time, the money, the support, the knowledge, they were never the real issue. The issue was whether you had grown enough to carry those things without crumbling. And readiness is exactly that, capacity, the ability to receive what you've been asking for without sabotaging it. Think about how many times you got what you swore you wanted, only to watch yourself destroy it because deep down, you didn't feel like you belonged there. That's what happens when the gift arrives before you're prepared to hold it. But when you've grown into true readiness, everything changes. You start showing up different, not pretending, not proving, just showing up as yourself. You start choosing from clarity, not from panic. You start building instead of waiting. You start creating instead of complaining. And people notice, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because authenticity has a gravitational pull. This is why timing matters. Every setback, every failed attempt, every almost moment you thought was wasted, it was teaching you something you couldn't have learned otherwise. You weren't ready then. You had to strengthen in exactly the way you did. And if these words are landing differently today than they would have 6 months ago, that's how you know something inside of you has shifted. Because readiness isn't about having the map. It's about being willing to walk without one. And here's the thing. It rarely feels dramatic. It doesn't arrive with lightning strikes. Most of the time, readiness feels like surrender. Not quitting, but finally dropping the old skin that was weighing you down. It feels like swimming with the current instead of thrashing against it. And other people will notice. They'll see you making new choices, drawing lines you never drew before, responding to chaos with a steadiness they've never seen in you. Some will celebrate it, some won't, because your readiness forces them to face their own resistance to change. But that's not your burden anymore. Because when you're ready, you stop carrying the weight of everyone else's comfort. You stop apologizing for becoming yourself. You stop pretending that shrinking is kindness. And yes, readiness comes with loneliness. Not because you're truly alone, but because you're awake in a world that prefers sleep. The old conversations become unbearable. The old circles feel too small. The old validation stops mattering. That loneliness isn't punishment. It's cleansing. It's clearing space for the people and opportunities that actually align with who you're becoming. And while you wait for them, you walk through the in-between, the desert, the uncertainty. That's the place most people retreat. They convince themselves the old life wasn't so bad, but if you can stay in the tension long enough, if you can resist the urge to run back, then you meet the version of yourself you've been chasing all along. The version that trusts their instincts, the version that doesn't collapse under failure, the version that doesn't need applause to keep moving, the version that isn't desperate for proof because their clarity is enough. And when that version takes over, you stop waiting for life to happen to you. You begin happening to your life. You stop waiting for perfect timing and start making timing perfect. You stop hoping for change and become the person who creates it. And life responds, not because you've earned a reward, but because you finally aligned what you think, what you feel, and what you do. That alignment is readiness, and you cannot fake it. It's carved out of struggle. It's built out of failure. It's forged through choosing growth over comfort again and again until it becomes who you are. And when you reach this place, you realize everything had to unfold exactly as it did. Every delay, every loss, every closed door. It was all preparation. It was all shaping you to hold what you've been asking for without breaking under the weight of it.
So if you're here, listening to this, and something inside you is nodding along, recognize this for what it is. You're not here by accident. You're here because you're ready. And you already know what your next step is. You've known for a while. That voice that's been whispering to you, the one you've tried to smother with distraction, it's still here, growing louder, asking you to move. Because readiness without action isn't readiness. It's just another version of waiting. And you've done enough waiting. The version of you that's been waiting in the shadows isn't going to wait forever. Life is moving, with or without you. So you can keep standing on the sidelines, or you can finally step forward.
Not when you feel safer, not when everything lines up, but now. Because people who are truly ready don't wait for the moment. They create it. And if this hits you, declare it. Just 2 words. I'm ready. No justification, no long explanation, just a declaration you finally mean. And if you know someone stuck in wishing instead of readiness, share this with them. They may need it just as much as you did. Because the door is already open. The only question left is whether you'll walk through it or spend another year staring at the doorway.